Grace and peace. Welcome to another episode of the TBT Show. I'm Anthony Moten. My friend and brother and partner in crime, as always, is the Right Reverend Elder Shawn P. Aguilar. We're gonna do the same thing and see if we get something different. Shawn, of course.
Do you want something different?
I've been begging for it.
Do you want something different?
Yes. Hey, Shawn, how are you, buddy?
Fantastic.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Does that make you feel better?
Hey,
Did that change your life?
We're off to a great start.
Did you?
We're off to a great start. We're off to a great start.
I hope that make you feel better.
It absolutely does. You just don't know how excited I am now. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, I want to encourage everyone who's listening to like, share, subscribe. Again, if there's a conversation that you want to jump into, feel free to comment on YouTube or send the email. We'd love to hear what you think about some of our positions. And again, some of the things that are going on in our world just make you shake your head. So this week is no different.
Yep.
There's some things that's just cause you to shake your head. And again, I know we're on varying ends of the spectrum as it relates to thought. But sometimes some thought is just like counterproductive. Mm-hmm. And again, we just want to talk about some things. So again, this is conversation. You're a part of the conversation, so feel free to comment on YouTube or send an email, and we'll read it, we'll address it, even if we have to do it on our next episode. So I don't know what direction you wanted to go first, but we can do this first because we talked about it last week. Mm-hmm. Did you see the Chris Rock?
I did see the Chris Rock special on Netflix, Selective Outrage.
Scale from 1 to 10.
It was seen, assuming that 0 is the absolute worst product ever.
Right.
10 is just like, wow, I've never seen anything better.
Right.
5 being an absolute average performance.
Okay.
So just setting the expectation. I'm going to go with a 7.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was 7 is higher than what I would give him.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it wasn't, I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. Maybe it wasn't all Chris's fault.
Well, of course not. I mean,
because there's been a year of expectation and building and waiting for what he was going to say. Mm-hmm. And then you hear it and you're like, you could have said this 3 days after the fact. And it would, you know what I'm saying? It would have been
no new information. But see, here's the deal: is that he was a man of his word in the sense that he said, "I'm not going to talk about this until somebody pays me to do it."
Okay.
So he said that fairly quickly afterwards. So he knew he had something. He knew he had something that someone would pay a price in order to see,
which could possibly be his last hoorah.
Hey, $20 million
right,
you can ride off into the sunset.
Right, absolutely. And I'm not saying
it's
bad, but it'll be his last big.
Possibly. He's 58, I think.
He's done.
I mean, he's been at this a long time.
And this special proved he's done.
It's possible.
He's done.
I mean, I maybe
I'd give him a 5.
Oh, so you went down. You went down.
I watched it again.
Oh, you watched it again?
Yes, and I was even more frustrated the second time than the first time. I expected to see something.
Well, see, that
different.
was a mistake that you made.
Yeah, I should just let it.
You should just let it sit.
Oh, okay. I'll let him ride on my first one, then I'll give him a 6. Okay. But it still wasn't.
Yeah, because this is a special. This isn't something where, some movies I can watch Friday over and over and over and over again. There's certain movies that you can just watch. You could literally recite the entire movie
and still want to watch it again.
Yeah. Oh, you want to run it back? So that's the deal. And there's certain evergreen products.
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And some products are seasonal. Whereas, hey, it's only good, like, you know, Easter eggs in August.
Who does that?
Who does that? You know, I mean, you see what I'm saying? There's certain things that are only good at a certain time of year, right? I mean, what would happen? What would you think is like, oh, Spirit Halloween's popping up in March?
Right.
You know, it just. So I think this is in the seasonal section. You know, it's like, hey, you know, it had its impact and its import for a particular time and place. But, you know, obviously he said a bunch of things that I don't agree with.
But see, that's okay.
You know, in terms of his subject matter.
Okay.
But so look, first let's just talk about the structure.
Okay.
Let's go there.
Let's
How
go.
about that?
Okay.
So the structure of his set, if you will. And I get, hey, save the best for last. But man,
I don't think.
You know,
I think it disserved him.
Yeah, I mean, you're hiding the cookie.
Just don't make me sit through an hour and 15 minutes of subpar comedy. Yeah. It had its moments. But it was, you know, it was subpar. It wasn't Chris's best. And I'm not even ranking him based on Dave Chappelle or anybody else. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the best that we've seen of Chris.
No, not at all.
So you're making me sit through an hour and 15 minutes of subpar comedy at best to get to the end that last time. And it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't funny.
We knew that. Like, we knew that already. You know, the reason I gave him a 7 is just because, you know, I look at delivery. You look at, you know, everything, you know, breadth of content. He did cover a lot of ground. He only made one mistake. That's a long time to be performing. And I gave him an extra point for live.
Okay. So he only made one mistake, but that mistake was on
the
joke of the night. This is why we all in the room, because of this.
It was a critical spot. And he even, you know, stated, oh, man, you know, expletive the joke.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know, I'm sure it's edited. I'm pretty sure if somebody goes and watches it now, you know, the stream is probably fixed. Because he did basically kind of circle around and come back, deliver the joke correctly, so that when they edit it, they could just cut that part out. And it's probably all one. You know, you probably won't see the mistake on the edit, because if you look at Netflix after you watch it, it says streamed live and edited.
Okay.
Now, so I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice that? Because you said you watched it twice.
Yeah, I didn't even notice it.
Okay.
Sunday night when I watched it again, I didn't notice it.
Okay. So yeah, they probably just.
It was okay. Okay, as far as structure, maybe that's what I was counting, because it's like he just. It was this anticipation for this elephant in the room that we all knew he was going to address, that he only addressed the last.
Right. And I just felt like he didn't really tie. I felt like he had such a great, it's kind of like when someone's preaching, great text selection, good title, but then it just kind of lacks organization. It lacks organization. And so, you know, in the words of Gardner C. Taylor, when he was asked, you know, how many points should be in a good sermon, and he said, well, at least one.
At least one.
Yeah. And so his
drive was, there's too much pointless preaching.
Exactly. And so Chris Rock kind of was like, well, I can't, if I shoot at everything, at least I'll hit something. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was just kind of this shotgun.
We've seen him
approach.
Be way more structured than that before.
And I feel like my overall just gut feeling is that Chris Rock got on stage trying to be Dave Chappelle.
Even in presentation.
He tried to.
The cadence was David-ish.
Mm-hmm. The Davidic.
Yeah. It was it wasn't his normal flow. Mm-hmm. It was, it was real Baptist preachery.
You think so?
Yes, that walking around, everything had kind of like a hum and a bop to it. It's like, bro, this is not Chris Rock. This is just like, and then Okay, so even the information that and again, he highlighted, but I wasn't looking for thought provoking because he highlighted a bunch of things that made you think.
Right. And that's not really him.
It's David Chappelle.
Yeah, that's a Dave Chappelle, more storytelling, philosophical type situation, but it didn't really come off.
It didn't.
And, I felt like he should have stuck to, Coke. Have you ever heard the story? Do you know why Coca-Cola is called Coca-Cola Classic? You ever look on the bottle, it says Coca-Cola Classic? Mm-hmm. Do you know why that is?
You've told me before, but I don't
You know why that is? Is because I want to say it was in the 80s. Pepsi did the Pepsi Challenge, okay? And so Coke is like, hey, we got to come up with something because this Pepsi Challenge deal is killing us, okay? So they decided, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll come out with new Coke. We'll come out with a new formula, a new recipe for Coca-Cola. Well, people came out, and it's like, okay, hey, everybody's like, that's the thing to do. Try new Coke. People hated it. And so they had to bust a U-turn, flip it all around, and so they rebranded the original Coca-Cola recipe as Coca-Cola Classic. And then sales went up. Some people have put forth that it wasn't a mistake. They did it on purpose.
Just to circle you back to.
Because now you appreciate what you already had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well.
And obviously we know that Coca-Cola, they're doing pretty well right now. And so this is before they expanded all these different beverage options. Back in the day, it was just soda.
Right,
you had Coke.
Right.
Maybe, Sprite. You had Pepsi. You had 7-Up. That root beer.
Right.
That's about it.
That's about
Cream
it.
soda.
Right.
But that was about it. You didn't have all dragon fruit, vitamin water, all this other type of stuff. You just had soda.
Right.
Or if you was up north, you had pop. And that was what.
I guess
or if you're in the Midwest, everything was a Coke.
Right.
Let me get a Coke. What kind of Coke you want? Let me get a Sprite Coke.
Right. Get a red Coke. I guess the lesson is, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right. People come to see Chris Rock be Chris Rock.
Not Chris Rock be Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle.
I get it. And, so I know you were cringing. I started to text you when I was watching it. I said, nah, I'm gonna let it marinate. When he dealt with pro-life.
This was terrible. What a way to upset everybody.
But he kept,
you shot yourself in both feet.
I'm on your side. But I get it.
But you're not.
But no, I get it.
It's hey, I'm on your side and I'm on their side. Right. How about that? So let's upset everybody. I've heard of shooting yourself in the foot, not in both feet. That's something else.
I think that was by design.
Yeah, but see, there's a different. Okay, so here's the difference in how Chris Rock approached the issue, of baby deletion versus versus trying to use the platform friendly words, baby deletion, and the way Dave Chappelle did it. So Dave Chappelle sucked you into a story, and you pretty much thought he was gonna go one way. Then he completely makes the hard right turn, goes the other way, and then leaves it in your lap to make the decision, to think through it, and then he moves on to something else. Chris Rock says, hey, this is terrible, but I'm okay with terrible. And you should be too if you were like me.
I'm going to push terrible even further.
Right.
Say, I believe it's okay to kill a kid till they get 4 years
old.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, not only is abortion murder, so he states a pro-life talking point. Right. And so now you got all the pro-choice people feeling bad because wait a minute, the dude said he's for abortion. So now if I'm for abortion, according to Chris Rock, I have to concede that it is Murder, which is something that people that are pro-life do not want to concede. Does that make sense?
Some people that are pro-life, I don't think
Most people.
Most pro-lifers, but
Most
I don't. Think
I mean, most
all-
pro-choice.
I don't think all of them.
Most of them do not want to reckon with the fact that a human life.
See, first trimester, second trimester. I'm talking about semester. He's talking
Right.
about semester.
That was he's talking about semester. So now, and it was not funny to say, hey, let's bump up abortion to include not just let's go out the womb to infants, toddlers, and young children, school age. I was in pre-K at 4 years old.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Hey, little Johnny, come here. You know?
And that's what he said. But while it wasn't, most of what he said wasn't funny that night. I was trying to get the vibe of what he was just. All of that just seemed like a lot of. Let's just talk for an hour and 15 minutes so I can get to this last 10 minutes of.
Rant
y'all
rave.
all came to.
Right. You want to hear me go off on Will and Jada.
Right. And so I felt like he had some moments in that hour and 15 minutes where he was kind of like.
There was some good stuff with the daughter. There was some good stuff with the daughter.
Yeah,
you know.
But even that was that.
Ish.
But he was trying to pull you in with that. He said something about Snoop. Then he was like, I like Snoop Dogg. Please, I don't need another mad rapper.
Right.
Or a rapper mad at me. And so he did that a couple times. I felt like if he would have had, more connectivity and done that maybe a little bit more, it would have carried him through.
I just felt like he didn't really stick to his theme.
I don't think he had a theme.
Well, I mean, Selective Outrage is the title.
That didn't make sense until he got to the very end.
Well, no, it made sense up front. It didn't. It made sense because he did touch on some stuff up front, but he did not. It was not woven.
Yeah. It is. It wasn't until he said the end. Will Smith struggling with selective outrage that you was like, oh, okay. So I guess everything else he said prior to. Were what he feels like moments in society where we have selective. He didn't.
Well, I got that from the beginning.
You got that.
Okay.
He didn't give it to you.
Okay.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's almost like.
Well, because I can't remember the first thing he said, but like the first two different topics he hit were selective outrage issues. Because he was talking about people you can't say anything to anybody and da 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 da. So it was. Selective outrage. But now he may not have held up a neon sign that said selective outrage, but that's what he was talking about.
You were thinking. It's almost like
not illegal yet.
I mean, preaching.
Right.
I'm not going to leave application to your assumption.
Well, yeah. I mean, the words of Chuck Swindoll, put the cookies on the bottom shelf. I'm with you.
He didn't. He made me actually go. Oh, okay, maybe that's what he's talking about. Instead of him saying,
right,
this is, and the good comedians are good at it.
Right.
If this is going to be the platform, I'm going to weave this in, and you're going to see this thread throughout the entire night.
But he kind of did the same thing with Tambourine. Like, Tambourine didn't show up till way in.
It didn't.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's kind of par for the course.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. So those that haven't seen it, man, I hate to say this.
You give a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you gotta say.
To those that haven't seen it, if you're not doing anything else, definitely watch it. But don't reschedule anything. so that you can watch it. I mean, it's almost like, some of the way, which is bad to say, and this is real bad. Well, we're family. If y'all following, we're family. But that's how I rank and decide whether or not I want to hear someone.
Would you go out of no, for sure.
Like,
would you go out of your way?
Would I go out of my way to, like, if somebody's gonna be preaching in my living room, then okay, yeah, I might sit in there.
Right.
But put on clothes, get dressed, drive across the city, probably not. Like, So yeah, if you're not doing anything, it's on Netflix.
Right. If you're already a Netflix subscriber,
that's the end of your You're a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But don't reschedule anything to see it. I just don't think it's that good. Now, and here's the question, because here's what's blowing up most social media platforms. He made some statements at the end concerning the year ago situation with him and Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
That Will got up, slapped him. He said, people kept asking him, did it hurt? He said, yeah, it still hurts to today. That kind of deal, whatever.
Yeah.
So he makes some statements, and now it has resurfaced and called back into question the events of that night.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are saying that he deserved what he got.
I've heard people say that. There's one person in particular that went on Don Lemon's show on CNN as far as his backlash, and I find it very interesting who this person is. There's a person. I don't want to. I'm trying to handle this delicately because I know people get upset at being misgendered, and I don't want to, there's a possibility that could happen.
Okay.
Based upon what's on my screen here.
Okay.
I'm looking at my screen, and so this person, okay, Candace McDuffie, and she is the senior writer at The Root.
Okay.
All right. So very liberal, outlet. And so she's said that Chris Rock deserved to be slapped, in particular because black women have been the butt of his jokes for years. And this is a quote here. It's not so much about being slapped as it's about accountability. He has made black women specifically the butt of his joke for years, and he's finally being held accountable. So I feel this kind of sets the precedent going forward that people will be more careful about how they treat black women. What say ye?
Okay. Let's just say that, and again, the qualifier of who it came from, to me, doesn't even matter. But here's the truth. And I said this when it first happened. You cannot respond in a physical fashion for something that happens in word.
Right.
So, I feel like somebody needs to hold racist white men accountable for what they say. Mm-hmm. But I'm not finna get into a fight over some white man that calls me the N-word. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. So you can't. If I get into a fight, and get arrested, because that's what's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. So is somebody gonna come down to jail and say, "Hey, by time somebody holds them accountable"? Mm-hmm. Just that whole mindset to me makes no sense. There are a lot of groups of people that have been butts of jokes for a very long time. That's why we call them jokes.
Exactly.
Like, so what if someone runs up on the stage and slaps somebody that talks about midgets, because midgets have been the butt of jokes, or right. super tall people, or super thin people, right. or super fat people. It's like right. There are multiple categories of people that have been joked about. If the best response you can come up with is a physical altercation or a physical attack, then that leaves you limited.
Well, here's the deal: is that the battle should remain in the arena that it was started, right? So if it's a war of words, then if you want to fire back or you want to engage, you engage on the level of words,
right.
But my thing is, I take exception to her whole thought process, because Chris Rock is a black man. I think we can agree on that. Mm-hmm. And black women are part of his experience.
Absolutely. His mother, who was there that night, who shocked me that he was talking the way he was with his mom in the room.
Right. I'm like,
but
what?
yeah, right. But his
Right.
mother is a black woman.
Right. Right. So there's all these black women that aren't offended, but what it comes down to is that this is an opportunity to, start up the cancel culture, so on and so forth. But to me, the whole premise just doesn't make sense.
I think it's for a different reason.
Oh, I know it's for a different reason.
Yeah, that person, I think it's for a different reason. I just
yeah.
refuse to say it.
You refuse to say what?
What I think it is.
What, that she's, just, on the woke side and is trying to feminist and all that different stuff, blah, blah, blah.
I'm not going to say woke. It gives her an opportunity, and the best example I can think of, I don't want to use it either because I don't want anybody to characterize him as such, but it gives her an opportunity to be connected to what he was talking about that night, connected as a victim because of this, right? So, and it's the only way I can do it, and I don't want anybody to take any negative from it. There were a lot of people that did not like what was going on in the streets of our black and brown communities as far as police violence, that kind of deal, whatever. So you get one football player who's black,
right,
but has some Caucasian in his lineage as well, who decides to take a stand. And some have assumed it was to create some greater connectivity to the black in him.
Okay.
And I think that is her trying to create some greater connectivity that, hey, look, I'm a black woman.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. If you looked at her, the question that you had was not whether or not she's black.
Oh, yeah, no.
She
but
is
you
quite
do
she's quite melanated.
Right.
That would be the
right,
least question,
right,
as
right,
far
but
as
you
Candace
have-
McDuffie.
Right, but there are questions. And so,
Hey, man,
I'm just saying so again, I disagree with what she's saying. Now, whether or not her premises has anything to do with anything or whatever, I think she has reason for saying it. I don't really think she believes that, is what I'm saying. I think she has
I think it's
greater
par for the
reason.
course. I think that it's number one, it's an opportunity for her to get in the conversation, get her publication.
One, but two,
and, all
to
that.
be seen as the victim.
Right.
And
that's a big problem that we have, is that people will run quickly to be labeled as a victim. And it's like, you have a comedian that's telling jokes. So you're saying that a comedian telling jokes, and if you look at prior hosts, you look at Ricky Gervais, you look at, outside other awards, or just comedy in general, telling the truth by definition risks offense.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
a lot of what makes things funny is that there is an element of truth in the hyperbole.
Right.
And so what you're saying is that at any time that someone does something or says something that we don't like, we can engage with punishing them physically.
An assault.
Right.
Man,
exactly.
listen,
And that's the deal. Legally, that's called assault.
I've been buying comedy tickets my whole life. And I think probably my first comedy show, I was probably 16, 17 years old, whatever. And I've been buying tickets. I always say the same thing. I'm not buying a ticket inside the first 2 or 3 rows.
No, because you already know you're setting yourself up.
If you say that, like, we all know that.
Right.
No comedian is trying to pick on any one category of people.
No, it's just who's available.
Who's available?
Who's available?
I look down, the first 2 people I see,
There's Eskimo.
Will
Yeah,
and Jada.
yeah.
It's like,
You know,
gonna
it
get
doesn't matter. Yeah, but
he looks down, Will and Jada are the first thing, you're going to get it.
Right.
That's any comedian, that's any show, that's any presentation. they're going to pick on, and I'm saying pick on, they're going to highlight whoever is in close proximity. Martin Lawrence made his living
Right.
doing that. And was actually baiting for someone to try to heckle
him, right.
Because he didn't have anything prepared. I'm just go out here and talk. Man, have you ever been or seen 85 South? DC Young Fly, Carlos Miller.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
They don't have anything prepared. They don't have they have a presentation. I'm gonna walk out here, who I'm gonna see.
Right.
Okay, let's do it.
Basically, I'm just gonna freestyle.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what it is. So we know, like, to say, this kind of person has been the butt of jokes. That's inaccurate. And I think,
that's a gross misrepresentation. Let me tell you who's been in the butt of jokes. Everyone.
Everybody.
Anywhere, ever. And that's the deal. And it just depends on who's got the mic at the time.
And that's what it is. And I don't, now, Chris said some things, called Jada out her name, called Will out his name. And again, I wouldn't have called Will that, but I agree with him.
Correct. And a lot of people do. A lot of people, and as he said, a lot of people express the same sentiment.
And he's like, he didn't say nothing about the people that was talking about him.
Right.
But you're going to punch me.
Right. Because, again, it's Ali versus Pookie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not doing no part, no moving my shirt off.
Right, exactly. So it's literally, you got Ali versus Pookie. So, again, a fight you can win. And,
Yeah.
That's the deal. I feel like, in terms of Candace McDuffie, Don Lemon did not really push back on her very much, which is a disappointment because he's supposed to be the journalist and should be like, wait a minute.
Well, I know why he didn't.
Well, because he's this close to getting fired.
Really? I didn't know that.
This close to getting fired.
I didn't know that. What did he do?
Not do well. I mean, first of all,
his numbers are sliding?
So bad that they took him off prime time. Yeah, he's got a show in the morning now.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, that's not good, Rep.
I didn't know. I haven't been keeping up with him.
Yeah, it's the opposite. See, in normal jobs, being the night manager is kind of the way that you come up. In television, you want to be on prime time. You want to. You see what I'm saying?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well,
no. So he's already been basically demoted there, and then they put him on. I want to say with some other people, like co-hosting, stuff like that. And so, no, it's the ratings aren't good.
Wow.
The ratings are not good. So it's so he's got to be careful because that's the core audience is okay,
right.
Kind of that more bent. And so it's just everybody's just so sensitive. But there's no accountability. What I find is interesting is that there's a call for accountability, but there's no accountability on the part of specifically, Jada. She never has to take accountability.
Yeah, no, he called out though. Chris Rock called out.
Yeah, but the problem is he calls her out, and so now it's just another reason for everybody to get upset.
Get mad because
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But where's the accountability?
Right.
It's like people talk about man up. When is she gonna fem up? When is she gonna take any accountability for what she did? This whole I almost
looked at it though.
I almost fell out of my chair when she came up with this entanglement foolishness.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's not possible somebody could get away with this.
He highlighted it, of which that was one of his funnier moments of the night.
Right.
He highlighted like, usually I wouldn't say nothing about this.
Right.
But for some reason,
right.
they talk to each other with a camera on about and again, Will is in a place.
No man's land.
But
listen,
he's
in no man's land.
Fighting is not going to help you get out of it. And that's, and I just hate to see him. And then here it is a year later.
I couldn't
and
even
it's been-
imagine what that is like, bro.
Yeah.
All these millions of dollars, no peace in your home.
Right. That's here's the
I
lesson.
mean, you're wearing. Think about this. So this kind of puts some things into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you're talking about Will Smith, Mike Lowry, you know what I'm saying? And so you're, probably wearing Gucci this and Versace that, all the money in the bank, your choice of cars, all this different stuff. However many thousand, probably over tens of thousands square foot mansion. Do I want to drive the Rolls today or the Ferrari?
Shoot.
But, tough decisions, bro. Tough decisions. Or do I even want to drive at all? I'll just have the chauffeur take care of it. You know what I'm saying? All these different things, but you have to worry about what happens when you leave home.
Wow.
You're sitting in an Olympic-sized pool, waterfall, all that stuff by yourself. Because you can't stand your wife can't stand you.
Hey, and here's the lesson for those of us who thinks
Money solves
money
all problems.
solves all problems. That money will buy you some stuff, but there's some stuff money just can't buy.
Buy you a mattress. Won't buy you a good night's sleep.
Hey, it'll buy you watch, but won't buy you time.
Yep,
Just, it'll buy you a house, but it won't buy you a home.
Yeah.
There's some things, money is not the cure-all.
Yeah, it's not.
And
because
so
you see these, rich and famous.
Right.
What most people would think and
Would die to be.
And man, how many people just some years ago were like, oh man, Will and Jada, power couple, relationship goals. Meanwhile,
behind the scenes, and Chris Rock put it on Front Street. Just see what had happened was.
Right.
She was sleeping with her son's friend. It's
Exactly.
it's just,
And that's
basically
what happened. No, not basically.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And she said it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
it was deep therapy.
Yeah.
According to Jada. But see, here's the deal. And
this
will probably get me in trouble.
until he became her playmate.
This will probably get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay. Better you than me.
Better you than me?
Yeah.
Will should have known what time it was when they got married and she hit him with the hyphenation.
Okay.
The hyphenated last name.
No, I don't. No.
Red flag, man.
No.
Red flag.
It's not a red flag.
Red flag. It identifies a particular ideology that she is not going to identify 100% with you. She's still preserving her own identity. Red flag. From Jump Street.
You think so?
100%. Show me.
If you disagree, email Shawn.
Email me.
I'm not gonna go that far.
I want to hear about the happy hyphenation.
Erica's name is hyphenated.
Where?
Her name is hyphenated. Like on any formal papers.
Okay, pull up her Facebook. What does it say?
That's different. That's
when
Facebook.
she introduced herself, what did she say?
That's
so for all practical purposes.
Yes, but like formal papers. Like
but what?
her
But
passport says.
That's fine.
Moten.
Yeah, but that's not hyphenated. So some women will take their maiden name, and that becomes their middle name. That's happened for a long time, and in some cultures, that's like a big thing.
Okay.
Now some people will change their last name entirely. You see what I'm saying? Right. And it's like, hey, they just have their original first name, original middle name,
and my married last name.
Right.
I'm all in.
But that's different than hyphenated.
Maybe she did it for business purposes.
Oh, I know she did it for business purposes.
Because, she is Jada Pinkett.
I get it, but who's really calling her phone? Who's really calling Jada Pinkett after, once she got a little older, they're calling Will Smith's wife.
She has some success at Pinkett. Probably, I'll put like this.
Jada Pinkett.
She's had more success as a Pinkett than a Pinkett Smith.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that she got whatever success as a Pinkett Smith because of the Smith, not because of the Pinkett.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay, Jada Pinkett is not in the Matrix movie. Will Smith's wife is in the Matrix movie.
I forgot she was in the movie.
After Tupac is gone, so is she.
No, I just...
Period, dot, dot.
I mean, anything that was worth seeing with her in it was...
Not after the year 2000.
It was not. She was a Pinkett.
I'm just... I'm not trying to be mean. I just noticed kind of a little pattern.
You think? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you got to just hyphenate her name?
I noticed a pattern where...
J-Lo.
Oh, yeah, she don't respect Ben.
Stop.
No respect.
Stop.
They got married twice.
She took heat for taking his last name. Even in hyphenation, she took heat
because of what she represents.
Yeah.
This is the actress from Enough.
Stop. You're stretching now. That's like a...
But no, I'm telling you, this is what she represents. She represents the successful, independent woman. The successful, independent woman cannot be seen in any type of submissive role. She can only have a partner, not a husband. Oh yeah, that hurt, didn't it?
Hey, Shawn at dtbtshow.com. If you want to email, it's Shawn at dtbtshow.com. I don't know. I don't know that I would go that far. I don't think.
I'm going. I'm there.
You think?
Send me some mail. Yeah, I'm there.
I don't. That's kind of.
I'm just saying. Haven't you noticed a pattern? Don't you notice that with hyphenated last? Because you do that intentionally. Because you're purposely going against the tradition of taking the last name of your husband. You have to think through that. That just doesn't accidentally happen. They don't just accidentally mess up the form. Does that make sense? In order to have a hyphenated last name, I'm just telling you straight up and down, that was a non-negotiable.
I would have to research that. I don't know.
Look up hyphenated last names.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some examples.
A trail of tears. I'm just telling you. Look it up.
Okay, let's readdress this because I wouldn't go that far without some proof.
I'm just telling you. I've noticed a pattern, and we can go through the pattern.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's a red flag.
Okay.
If you were in marriage counseling. Okay. If you were in marriage counseling, and the woman was adamant. She's like, yeah, I can't take his last name. Or as a compromise, well, I'll hyphenate. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, why wouldn't you take my last name?
And that's what I would ask. Like, why?
Right. So what could you formulate and cogitate and postulate that would be a valid reason? Other than the entertainer reason, because I get that.
That's what I would think it would be.
Right.
So if there are businesses,
but looking at Jada, that's not just it.
I mean, I'm okay. It's to the point. I would expect any entertainer to do it, because your brand now has become
if you
J-Lo.
If you built the brand, I get it,
and we can't flip that to.
But what I'm saying though
J.
is
Affleck.
Right, but you can still be J-Lo, and you can be Jennifer Affleck. You see what I'm saying? Because she's still, as a brand, J-Lo. But when you sign documents, you are Jennifer Affleck.
And that's what I think she did, and I think that's why she took some flack. Now, the
problem is when you don't pick a side of the road, you're in the middle. That's where you get squashed.
Yeah. I could see it, but you're talking about normal.
But I'm saying
people,
let's go
yeah.
down to normal people. You know what I'm saying? Not entertainers and athletes. But you notice. But I'm saying the examples come out of there. But I'm just telling you, like I've noticed a pattern with hyphenated last names. In terms of there's a certain ethos that comes along with a young lady that has a problem
going forward but staying behind.
And it's usually someone that's like, oh, yeah, we're partners. You know.
Okay.
It's like, I want equality, but I still want you to open the doors, handle the bump of the night, pay all the bills, but we're partners. That's the...
and I get that.
That's the framing.
Hey, I get that.
I want everything to serve me. I want all the stereotypes and the things to start, you know.
I said that last week, right?
It's the same woman that's when they're single, you know, is cool with accepting getting in free at the club if they have a certain appearance, you know, but then they don't want to take the other double standards that may go along
with
only the double standards that benefit me.
Right. I get it.
Don't talk to me about my body count.
Right.
Don't talk to me about, you know, this, that, or the third.
Right. Anything else that will come along with that kind of mindset. I get it. And I said last week, you know, young women want my dad, but don't want to be my mom. My dad did all that, paid bills, opened those.
No, I get it.
But my mom ironed sheets too.
Right. And that's the deal. If you want, you know, a traditional man,
you have to be willing to be a traditional woman.
Classic man, then there you go.
Okay.
But I feel like
I don't know that I would
the you know, feminine modernity, you know, comes along with this type of deal. You know.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Okay. So speaking of modern versus traditional thought, Dwayne Wade and his family, including, does she have a hyphenated name?
She doesn't even have his last name. She's Gabrielle Union. And I'm glad you brought this up.
I mean, I'm
glad you brought this up
because
I was going to later.
Okay.
But I'm glad that you're already.
No.
You know, it's already
not
there.
illegal yet.
Yeah, it's not illegal yet.
I'm thinking so. Yeah, it's not illegal.
It's not illegal yet. But you got Dwayne Wade. So what a surprise that Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union are Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union, not Gabrielle Union Wade.
Yeah. But she's an entertainer. I guess, man.
What was the last thing you saw her in Don't Say Bad Boys 2?
No, is this some show?
Wow.
She was working at some. She was a newscaster. I didn't watch it. I know Erica was watching it from time to time. What's the name of the show? I would have to think about it. I Am Somebody, or She Is Somebody.
I remember what you're talking about. I can't remember the title.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the last thing that I heard about last project.
Yeah. So I don't know, but they're being applauded for, and I believe he's gone through the complete.
The legal naming and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and they're being applauded for allowing, allowing her to grow into whoever she's, desires to be, whatever. And he's applauding his daughter for being courageous enough to, go through the process. So my thing is, and I've sit back and I've watched the entire journey, and I'm with it. You can do whatever you want to do, but I would allow, especially if it's a child.
Yeah, that's where my deal is. Is that? Oh, I'm sorry. She does have a hyphenated last name. I'm looking at it right here.
Okay.
They put her up as Gabrielle Union Wade.
Okay.
Yeah. This is and
apologize to Gabrielle Union Wade.
No, we're good. And so
I will not. We're good.
I will not. And so we're discussing the 54th NAACP Image Awards.
Okay. I knew it was a award show, and I didn't think it was NAACP.
No, it was the NAACP. Okay. Yeah, right. It makes no sense. I know. And so
I just didn't think it was NAACP.
No, but it makes, so you got the President's Award. That's what they're receiving.
Okay.
And here's the deal. Yes, in the broader context, I do have a huge problem, with the whole premise, number one, but also at, this point in the development of the child. That's an adult decision.
And that's my only
so
drawback.
Like my first thing is like, hey, of course we don't have to elaborate on my stance. I think that's pretty clear.
Right.
But here's what I took exception to in what Dwayne Wade said. And this has nothing to do with trans or anything else. Okay. Nothing. Listen to what he said. He said, he was talking about in his acceptance speech, he was extolling the virtues of how gracefully, the child has been dealing with public scrutiny, things of that nature, so on and so forth. But he said something, and he said that he did not see his role and responsibility as a father to direct the child, but to be a facilitator of your hopes, your wishes, and your dreams. That his responsibility was not to reproduce himself. I think that tells you a lot about how we get to where we are when the father does not take as a role and responsibility to direct their child.
I guess I kind of sort of see his struggle.
I mean, I get that, hey, you want your child to be happy. So a facilitator of your hopes, wishes, and dreams, of course, you want to help your child. But before that, there has to be a solid frame and foundation and some direction. Because basically, Dwayne Wade is saying, hey, I'm hands off. It's just whatever happens.
I'm going to lead you to your own devices.
Do you.
And I'm going to support you.
I'm just here to water the plants. I'm not here to prune. You see what I'm saying? I'm not here to do anything. I'm just going to let the plant grow wild.
But see,
and just provide resources.
If I could step out of what I much like in a similar situation, but if I could step out of what I think that maybe he was trying to,
right? Because you're the father here in this conversation, so I'm just introducing the topic.
No,
so that you can bring it in.
For any father, there's a fight in trying not to reproduce yourself. Mm-hmm. Like,
not carbon copy.
No,
right. You want to encourage their personality.
His oldest son, appears as though it's a reproduction of him. Mm-hmm. Loves basketball, pursues basketball. Matter of fact, has given a lot away in the pursuit of basketball. Maybe he wasn't as talented as his dad, et cetera. But it looks like they have the same passions.
Right.
And one of the things, and believe it or not, this is going to sound crazy, but it's true, and pray no one is offended. I prayed to God not to call my children in the ministry. Like
That's interesting.
When you're in it, like the hustle and the bustle of it.
Well, just in terms of saving them heartache,
headache. Listen, God let him, especially Taylor. God let him go do something where he can make some money. And you're not constricted to, people's generosity. Mm-hmm. One minute they're singing Hosanna, the next minute they're singing Crucify Him. I know the pains and struggles of ministry.
I get that.
And it's like, you're smart. I see you willing and dealing, handling yourself. He goes up to UT and bam, 4 years later it's done. Mm-hmm. And, he goes to Memphis, bam, 2 years later it's done. I know he would be, his mindset and his heart, he would be a great pastor. Mm-hmm. Please, God, don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't want him to have the same passions that let him be his own self person. Mm-hmm. And so, and I know, and I'm feeling like Dwayne was like, I I love basketball. I don't want him to necessarily love basketball because I love basketball. But what you'll find out is a lot of times sons follow things
Right.
just because that's what their dad followed.
Sometimes. I mean, I know that hasn't been my experience. Like me, like in terms of my upbringing, I actually went kind of because of what I saw. Not that it wasn't good; it was great. But I just saw that life has choices and trade-offs.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that my dad made the best choices with the choices that were available to him.
Right. Okay.
And as I grew up, I saw that, hey, my dad set me up to have more choices.
Absolutely. And
I chose differently, not because he didn't make good choices, but I had better options.
Right. Okay. So what if he would have said, hey, because these are the choices I made, these are the choices you need to make. So the father has to play that, that's, I think, different from mothers. Because mothers are maternal. They're gonna.
That's deep. No, I'm teasing.
No, I mean, yeah. But they're gonna nurture.
No, of course,
whatever you do.
Right.
Fathers
but
or
give the direction. But
but they're the leaders. So they're gonna. So it's hard to say when you're used to do this. It's hard to go. You know what? Tay's the greatest, deepest conversation we ever had. He's at UT. Went to UT for a computer science major. So he comes home, a couple years in, he's like, hey, Dad, I need to talk to you. About what? I'm thinking about if it's okay with you, think about if it's fine with you, changing my major. So I'm like, why is there such a difficult conversation? But it was because he didn't want to
disappoint you.
And like no father wants to have that kind of pressure on your child. Like you can't make certain decisions because if you do, you'll disappoint me. Right. I'm like, tell you're grown. You got to live the rest of your life.
Right.
Choose whatever. Now again.
Right.
Like
according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics,
right.
I would suggest you choose wisely.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think Dwayne did like, hey, you choose whatever gender. But I'm sure it was that balance of I want to help guide you, but I don't want to.
I mean, he took a real hands off.
He took a real hands off. My only issue is you're not old enough to make a life decision like.
And this is yet. Some of this stuff I don't think that has been done yet because I don't think there's been any surgeries. Okay. It's not irreversible, but what if the child makes that decision and is allowed to follow through with it?
But see, here's another thing.
And then later on regrets it.
Right, because here's another concern. A lot of options have been given to him.
Well, that's the problem. They have too many.
Because they have money.
Exactly.
If they were the average family.
This wouldn't have, no. You drink some Sprite and lay down. What are you talking about?
Right. Hey, Sprite is more than,
Sprite.
That's a good option. Because my grandma used to tell me, boy, you better swallow your spit going on. I hear you. They have more options because they have resources,
right?
Which has created this whole nother
right. Because
if this is really something that is you, this will be you 5 years from now,
right? And then when you're 18, you can make that decision when you're a legal adult. But the thing is that it's who they are, where they are, the circles they're in. This is, for lack of a better term, this is trendy. This is trendy to have a child that's.
So do you think ever
in the
that
alphabet
they
club
thought this would make us look good as parents?
Oh yeah.
And see,
that's why they're getting a President's Award. They don't get a President's Award unless Zion turns into Zion. Yeah. They're not there. Yeah. Otherwise, they're tokens. Whether they know it or not, they're being used to push an agenda. You see what I'm saying? Because look at it. They're rich, they're visible, and they're going along with the program.
I say it once, and I immediately put that thought out of my mind.
Keep it right there, Reverend.
I put it out because I like Dwayne Wade, and I think highly of him as a human.
Right. I'm much more than his wife.
And
for whatever reason,
that,
for whatever reason, she just
their union
rubs me the wrong way.
No,
man.
I don't know why.
Gosh.
Their union has had its fair share of ups and downs.
Oh no, as far as that part, like I know
And for
her
them to still
difficulty
be-
conception and all. No, I get that.
And for them to still be at it.
and I'm sensitive to
Yeah.
that part.
And-
No,
I mean, yeah.
don't get me wrong. I'm not a monster.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be mean,
Yeah.
but some of the takes, like, because again, she's coming from a certain thought process and ideology
Yeah.
that contributes to this, and I'm like the passive father. So
See, that's why I put that thought out of my head, because I said it makes him look, because he's an athlete.
but he looks weak.
Yeah, but in the
He
okay,
looks weak.
in the eyes of America, we would say the man's man is the athletic African American man that came from the slums, born and raised in Chicago. Like, you got to dodge bullets to get to school. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, he has that rough upbringing, and if he can submit and allow, then
Think about it,
every
you got
other-
an it's perfect
It's
for this
perfect.
agenda.
And that's
you
why I
have
put
an
it out of my hand.
entertainer and you have to me it's right there. Clap on. It's right there.
I don't want to think that of them.
I don't want to think that of them. I'm forced to. Like it's so plain on the face, especially they gave away the playbook right here. Come on, man. I mean, it's right there. The cookie's on the bottom shelf. I mean, what are you talking about? I mean, they gave away the game. It's so on the nose. Because the mother has objected, and just because
But again,
the biological mother.
okay, before we scoot past that, the biological mother has some issues.
Who doesn't?
Like, she really does, though.
Well,
Like mental health issues.
that doesn't mean she's wrong.
That doesn't mean she's wrong. Doesn't mean she's right either, though. So before we just say,
But at the end of
it
the day,
has to
he
be this
shouldn't be
because
able,
of that.
he shouldn't be able to sign off on anything and everything.
Well, if that's the
without her.
case, if you didn't see, my only issue with the involvement of the biological mother is it's the involvement of the biological mother. And if you feel that type of way, you should have been more involved in their upbringing, but you weren't because of your issues. So you've been sitting in the back seat.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
Keep
not.
sitting in the back seat. Now, I'm not saying it's right, right, wrong, indifferent. And again, I'm not saying that Zion shouldn't have the choice to decide whatever.
As an adult, do what
But
you want to
that's
do.
my thing. My thing is like,
As an adult, but they're trying to push. Go do this. Do more. Where do you see? What
I
I'm
heard
saying?
somebody say something the other day that was, it, and I don't know why I thought of this. They were talking about John Morant. John Morant has gotten into some issues of late, and they were like, "Hey, man,
Gun on Instagram situation.
yeah, he in a club with a gun, yada yada yada, whatever." And someone said, "Hey, dime him out. He's 23. His frontal lobe has not fully developed.
That's true.
To make
That's true.
good decisions.
He's got 3 more years of development.
And if you're talking about,
You got to be 25, 26 years old before. No, this is true. And I had this conversation with my wife.
Okay.
My wife is an educator. And it's like, sometimes, poor decisions are made is because the reasoning portion of our brain is not fully developed until about 25 or 26 years old.
okay, if that's the case, then why would you let a child?
Correct.
And again, that's my only thing. Now, I'm not saying right, wrong. And look, anybody knows me, I love all of God's children,
Of course.
and I'm here for it. All of it. But you don't get to, if we don't trust you at 15 to drive a car, buy alcohol, buy cigarettes,
Yeah.
then why would we trust you to make
Potentially irreversible decisions
decision.
about your body. Because my deal is that it's not what's happening with the child that is the primary concern when I heard their speech. It's what's happening with the parents and what the child is being allowed to do when the child may not know what is all the full ramifications. And so it would be just a terrible thing to look back that this was just a phase.
Right.
This was just to garner attention. This is a response to not having the mother, the biological mother around.
Right.
You know, and that caused some developmental issues and questions and things like that. And this is how the child chooses to respond. And then to have some irreversible things done where you can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And now you look up at 23 years old and, man, I wish I could turn back time, or I wish I could reverse it.
Right.
Sorry, it's irreversible.
Right.
Because there's so many stories that I've heard about people that were allowed, that their parents signed off on this stuff, and then some years later, 7, 8 years later, maybe happened at 15, and then all of a sudden it's like, I made a huge mistake. Why didn't anyone stop me?
Right.
You know?
And then, you know, if somebody's going to get an award, it shouldn't be the parents.
But your job's not done.
Yeah.
Job's not done yet.
Yeah.
Give them the award when the kids are grown. You're still in process.
Right.
That's like giving someone an Oscar and the movie's half made. We don't know what the end's gonna be.
Do
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's basically what happened. They got an Oscar and the movie's still in production.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but again, if it's convenient for the furtherance of the agenda.
I just don't want to think that would be in any kind of decision-making process. So I think too much of both Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union to even think that would be. So I think legitimately that is the issue.
But on what basis do you think so highly of them? I mean, y'all talk about this stuff in the group chat?
No, I see them like
Can you
nobody.
call them at home?
I see the grind like that.
Right,
listen,
but that's individual accomplishment. What does that have to do with them being a parent?
I'm talking about the family unit. Because
But just because they struggled.
No, if they were going to throw in the towel, they would have been thrown in the towel.
No, but what I'm saying is you're talking about two separate things. Their marriage and them parenting children, those are two separate things.
The same grind.
I don't think so.
Really?
Them keeping their marriage together is one thing. How they parent their children is another thing. They're interconnected.
They are definitely interconnected.
They're interconnected.
And they're probably more interconnected than you think.
No, they're interdependent. You see what I'm saying? I get all that, but what I'm saying is that you can have someone that has a marriage that works for them, but that doesn't automatically mean that they're just the best of parents. And you can have people that get divorced and they can parent well because they may not be able to deal with each other on anything between the two of them, but they have the love for this child that they have together, and they at least get on the same page with little Johnny. They at least get on the same.
We're going to have to run some numbers, but I would think anybody that would fight to keep a marriage together will fight to keep their kids afloat.
Yeah, but I mean,
and it doesn't necessarily mean if you walk out on your kid. I mean, sometimes you just said sometimes we do the best with the options and the choices that we have.
But see, and that goes back to the beginning, is that the passive father that does not see the need to direct. Because, and when I say direct, that doesn't mean you do exactly what I do. My dad was concerned with the man that I was becoming in terms of my character. You see what I'm saying? And never was like, hey, so you need to get into oil and gas, or you need to go to this school, or you see what I'm saying?
No,
but if there's no direct, there's no pruning. But there's no direction.
When there is direction, it could be conceived as being too much direction. Like if you look into Zaire, his oldest, mm-hmm. I think he's overseas playing now or something. Mm-hmm. He went to Sierra Branch Creek, whatever the school is, with Bronny James, whatever, and they made that move together. It's like all of his life has been about basketball.
But he chose that.
He did, but why did he choose that?
Because that's what he chose.
Dwayne Wade was Dwayne Wade before the world knew him as Dwayne Wade. There was a documentary called Hoop Dreams. I think it was him, Eddie Curry Jr., some other basketball players in Chicago, the hustle. He had no D1 offers. Marquette jumped on very late, very last, and it was not assumed that he was going to do anything when he got there. That Zaire was in the same shape, and he had that same kind of grind. It was just like, hey, man, my daddy did it, I'm going to do it. To this day, he's still trying to do what his dad did. And again, like, there's not that his daddy made those kind of, but seeing his father in such a great light, you know, it caused him to pursue the same path that his father
What's
did.
bad about that?
But what's good about that?
Well, it's a choice and trade-off. Life's about choices and trade-offs.
Okay.
So I'm saying is that
I'm going to bring it down your street. I didn't want to because this is live. We're being recorded. I'm going to bring it down the street.
Right.
How many second, third generation preacher pastors do we know?
Bunch.
Does it look like all of them had the same passion for it that Dad did?
Does it look like all of them?
I mean, just think through the examples in your head. Do you think all of them have the same passion that their dad did?
No.
Does it look like some of them maybe did it because that's what their dad did?
Yes.
And it's just the family business.
Correct.
And who wants? And again,
but that's their choice. That's their choice. No one forces them.
Sometimes we make choices based on our environment.
Well, that's what's called. Oh man, I mean, buddy. Sometimes the strength of mind and character has to be called into question of the individual. Because if you don't have the strength of mind and character to make your own decisions, then hey, bud, I mean, sorry. That's how the cookie crumbles. You made a decision to go do something you weren't equipped to do. Greatness skipped a generation, and now you're upset that people don't receive you the same way they received your daddy. Sorry.
My dad worked
you
for
made
Mrs.
a choice.
Bear's Bread. You remember Mrs. Bear's Bread?
Oh, yeah.
And it was the family business, passed down from generation to generation to generation. Toward the end, hey, man, we don't love bread like this. We didn't, you know what I'm saying?
I got a gluten allergy. I can't do it.
And it's and again, but like coming up, it was almost like that. The meant unsaid, because this is what Daddy did. Dude, this is what you gonna do. And I think in an attempt to step away from that, maybe he stepped too far. And again, I don't fault him.
Now, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. You know, that he felt like maybe he's over-influenced Zaire.
He's watching Zaire's life.
Right.
And that's not crumble because he's doing, you know, but he like pursuing an elusive target.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, because again, it's fathers, you know.
And I get that. I mean, I could say, okay, yeah, you can chalk this up to overcorrection. I'm just saying it's a cautionary tale. Yeah. No matter which way you slice it, whether it's, you know, over-influence, under-influence, all this different stuff, I think we can all agree that fathers have influence, and they should influence their children in a positive direction. There is balance in terms of encouraging them to be their own person, but also this is the person you should be in terms of character. Now, what you do with the character you've built, up to you.
And then, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's, if there's a line, where do we find the line?
Well, I feel like that's the line, is that what you do in terms of profession, what your passions are, all that different stuff, I don't think that, and I'm just speaking for me personally, I don't think that my dad was ever concerned with what I would do as a profession when I grew up.
And he may not have been.
That was never voiced outright.
But you weren't the oldest, were you?
No, I'm the middle child.
But you know the oldest, and my oldest son knows this. The oldest is trial and error.
Of course.
Let's see if this works.
Right.
Throw him in the ass, even land. So
well, so no, and I can definitely speak to that because my older brother is very different. My older brother, my younger brother are have a different temperament than I do. Does that make sense? I'm very different. I am my father's son. Does that make sense? So I'm very much more personality-wise like my dad. My older brother and my younger brother, much more like my mom in terms of temperament and personality and things of that nature, okay? So, no, I totally, see that. But none of us went into the same field as my dad.
Yeah, I mean...
None of us.
And I'm not saying field is it, but I can see how a father would feel like my job is to, set some parameters, not to decide and give direction and decide how this tree is gonna grow. It's to just let it grow and trim it when it get too long.
But that's my deal is that when you see a new baby tree, you have those stakes in the ground that kind of hold it up. I feel like this situation, because of the passivity of the father, was just a wild plant allowed to grow wherever with no pruning.
And probably so. And probably because the first tree came out just so when I put the stakes down here and the tree grows like that and you're looking at it like going, God, I messed up. Well, let me just pull the stakes up. And then however it happens, it happens. I mean, and again, I'm just saying I could see how.
No, I get it. And I could see too, but my deal is just like, man, that's way overcorrection.
Yeah, it's
way overcorrection. I understand you ease up. Because my parents, they were, just like you said, the first one, they were a lot more probably strict on my older brother. Now when I come along, they got a little more experience, so on and so forth. They can have a little leeway, and then probably by the time they were done with me, my little brother could do probably whatever he wanted to do. Yeah.
We tired. We done.
Yeah, exactly. I tired them out. So they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Go ahead. 10 years old. Dad, can I come in at midnight? Man, whatever.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just don't be too loud. Don't wake us up. Meanwhile, we're in the trenches.
Right.
Trying to claw for that extra hour. But that's the deal, man. And I can totally get that, and I appreciate your perspective there. But it still hurts my heart to see the passive father. Because to me, if you eliminate Dwayne Wade's passivity, then whatever else is going on around, that effect is diminished, even the mother.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I get it, but...
So that's what I'm saying, is that like that line right there, I'm like, oh, well, that explains it.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, hey, now I understand how it happened. Because of how you see your role and responsibility. And so to me, it's just like, it's revealing when you listen to people's words.
Yeah.
But, I feel like, again, it's pushing the agenda, this and that. But to me, it all comes down to the passivity.
Yeah. Man, I put it more than any other family. I really, 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 really pray for Dwayne Wade, who appears to be just trying to do his best.
I'm praying
and
for
then
him.
Gabrielle Union, who's that
I'm
has to be a hard
them. I'm praying for the child because the child can't escape the environment.
Right. And I think both of them.
And the thing is that a child is always going to do what they feel like is going to reap the immediate benefit that they want.
Right.
Children don't think long term.
Right.
So if I'm curious about this and this allows me to get more attention, and now, I'm going to be potentially, involved in modeling and photo shoots and all this stuff because of this, because otherwise that wouldn't happen.
Right.
But because they've created something special, or the child has created this, it makes me special.
Right.
Well, they're going to keep doing what they think is going to give them the rewards because you keep, you know, positively and reinforcing this.
Right.
So you're growing it even more.
Right.
Whereas if you had a more active role in terms of direction with love, that situation could be completely different. But no, I mean, because, you know, I'm praying for them for clarity.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of, you know, who's who and what's what.
Right.
Because if they sort that out, everything else will sort itself out. But I feel like, man, there's confusion.
Right. Well, there's another father who's a good father from what we can see, who put the stakes down, and who looks at life and recruiting and job in light of fathers being present and fathers being absent, who now finds himself in hot water for saying what people have been doing for the last 60 years.
Now notice who's getting the Image Award. I want you to notice this, okay? Here's one dot, here's another dot. Connect the dots.
Man, I see two fingers together.
Connect the dots, okay? I can't, you know, keep the hand up and draw the line, so I had to go that way. So, but notice who's being applauded for what and who's being diminished and reviled for what. Attacked, mauled, you know.
Yeah.
So, Prime Time, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, shared the blueprint for recruiting for different positions. Now, to me, this was not a racial issue. To me, this is something that's been done, that is being done, that has been done, and will continue to be done as long as people are people. You know, to me, this is pretty common sense as far as a strategy of what type of person, what type of temperament you want at different positions. You know, so paraphrasing, but basically, you know, Deion said, hey, look, okay, you know, or, you know, Coach Prime, you know, that for quarterbacks, you want two-parent household. You want them making good decisions.
High GPA.
High GPA, high level intelligence, okay? They run the offense. You need someone that understands responsibility, that makes good decisions, because if they can make good decisions slow, then maybe you can teach them to make good decisions fast. That's the type of person you need.
Offensive lineman.
Offensive line, same
family
thing.
Unit.
But, yeah, strong family unit.
Family.
First child. Protective. You know? You see what I'm saying? My older brother, protective of me. You see what I'm saying? He had an instinct because he was the oldest child.
Right.
That was part of the responsibility of being the eldest.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right.
And so, and then defensive, we're looking for some different traits. You know, if we're looking, we're okay with tolerating a more chaotic existence. You know, single-parent household, not the best situation financially, may be on, free and reduced lunch, hungry, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Trying to get it. Just go out there and hit somebody.
And he had said in a previous interview to ensure, and again, you know, I connected the two interviews. Someone else did. And he said someone who either comes from the ghetto or the trailer park.
Right.
Bad situation. I'm looking for the guy with a truck with a deer in the back.
Right.
Is what he.
Right. You're looking for the country boy.
A hunter.
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to go get it.
Yes.
Got that dog.
Yeah.
And some kind of way, this has been flipped to reverse racism. Now, I don't
understand this. I am not grasping.
Now, here's how I see it.
It's not a racial issue. If anything, you could say it's a class issue. if you were to say
anything. Here's how I see it as a race issue, because I do see it as a race issue.
Okay, please.
See it as a race issue because now Deion is in hot water for saying what every college coach does.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's my question.
Right.
Why was Deion asked and not Nick Saban, who does the same thing?
The difference is he's Nick Saban. And there's two things. There's something that he can control and something he can't control. The one thing he can't control, one thing is that they're not going to give away the recipe for free, which is a mistake that Prime made. Even though it's understood,
it is absolutely understood. You can look.
I get it because I understood. You understood it because
there are now, and I'll say this to anybody. There are exceptions to the rule, right? So you'll have a good quarterback who comes from a single parent household.
Oh,
like
I mean, these aren't hard and fast rules.
Right,
it's not possible.
Like a Vince Young. Mm-hmm. But who had all the other intangibles, and although he came from a single parent household, he had father figures.
Right.
Who didn't mind listening.
Right. But these are preferences on the part of Coach Prime.
Right.
So
everyone does them. So it's almost like saying giving up the recipe for a crown and coat.
But what I'm saying is that they would not say these things out loud.
They wouldn't say they're the understood though. Quarterbacks on top of going to these camps to see how fast you run, how strong you live, how much you live, how fast, how you can jump, and all of that. Mm-hmm. They make you take a test called the Wonderlic test. Mm-hmm. They want to see if your mind can connect the dots. Right. So nobody ever says like, maybe I should have a smart quarterback.
Right.
That's understood.
Right.
So all Deion said was what was already known.
Correct. But the problem is that he framed it in the context of family dynamics. Which is already, you know what I'm saying? Which is what's already known. Have you ever seen that movie, Blindside? Mm-hmm. So why did they have him play offense as an offensive lineman and not a defensive lineman? Because he was protective of his...
Now the family dynamic wasn't the same, but out of that normal, he did have a family dynamic like that.
Right.
Where he was able to exemplify these characteristics.
Correct.
All Deion is saying is, we're looking for these characteristics, which is most times in these settings.
Right. Correct.
It's common sense.
Right.
My question is, why are we asking Deion, who's had a couple of good years at a Jackson State, instead of asking, and I keep saying Nick Saban, these coaches that have been doing well, that make millions and millions.
Well, I'm pretty sure they've been asked. And I'm pretty sure they just said something, hey, we're always looking for the best qualified talent. You know what I'm saying? The generic, type of answer. But Prime being Prime, he's got to give you a more bombastic.
Well, he's going to give you the truth.
Right.
So, Super Bowl just this past year. From Houston. Plays for Philly.
Oh, Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm. He quarterback at Alabama, out of high school. Mm-hmm. Strong family unit, made good decisions, was under the tutelage of his father.
As coach,
and dad. Every college coach is looking for that.
Oh yeah, every time.
And I don't understand how. It's almost like saying, hey,
because,
Mo, what do you do for Sunday morning? I open the Bible. Oh, it's the understood.
No, I get it, but what you got to understand is there's an agenda and a narrative that's being harmed when you say this. Okay, I call it the Disney narrative. Okay, the follow your heart. Anybody can do anything if you just follow your heart. Regardless of facts, regardless of data, regardless of statistics. And when you put truth in front of people and say, hey, The facts, data, and statistics suggest this. There's always someone that's going to raise their hand and be like, well, there's always an exception to the rule. And don't tell me that my baby can't do this, that, or the third. You know, and it's like, come on now.
And there are exceptions, and I'm not, but if what Deion was saying is by and large, here's what we're looking for. So here's where we find it.
Right. And
You're going to always find events. You're going to always find a Steve McNair. Mm-hmm. You're going to, you know, there are some exceptions to the rule. But by and large, as a college coach, if I'm recruiting.
Right, and if you find that, that's great.
That's great.
That's great. But by and large, you know that, hey, this is where that often lives. But again, there's an agenda and there's a narrative that's harmed by the truth. That's why you got to be careful when you speak the truth, because there's always going to be someone that's uncomfortable with it.
I don't know if it was much that as much as it is we're always poking the flames of racial tension.
Well, it goes back to Chris Rock's Selective Outrage. People take the opportunity to be outraged when they feel like it serves them. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know if sometimes it's a stress reliever that somebody will take the opportunity to go ahead and now they can vent their frustrations with everything that's going on with light through the outlet of this selective outrage.
Right.
You know, and I think we've all dealt with a person that had something that was a very minor grievance, but they blow it up and literally turn a molehill into a mountain. They're making a mountain out of a molehill. And, man, they're just going off on this situation, this circumstance it's not that serious. Right. But it's selective outrage, to borrow from Chris Rock. It's my opportunity to change my first name to Karen. It's my opportunity. You see, it's my opportunity.
This is a hard connect, though. This is a hard connect. And I'm reading some stuff on Twitter.
I'm just telling you, man.
And I'm like, here's a black father who's a black man who has black children, who is a builder of black young men.
But again,
how can this man be racist? This just makes no sense.
But again, they don't like him because of what he represents. They don't like him. There's people that are threatened by him. Look at what he represents. If Deion succeeds, do you know what will happen? Other people that look like him are going to get the same opportunity.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
Did you hear about the other heat that he's in?
What's up?
So, and I'm going to send you some stuff so you can check it out.
Okay.
There's a group of people in Colorado that are fighting against his coaching.
Of course they are.
Because, now this is crazy, because he asked them, they had some workout, warm-up, lift weight, something, and he asked a player to lead them
I heard about this.
in prayer. Mm-hmm. And this is Deion, who did it at Jackson State, did it as a professional athlete, who, like, how, so, and now you got these two groups on, University of Colorado's campus fighting.
Right.
Some that are saying he's overstepping his spiritual and religious guidelines by asking them to pray. And then some saying he's well within his right for asking them to pray. This man has not coached one down at the school yet.
Not one.
And there's always this frustration and this fight. And he hasn't done anything.
Notice who's the aggressor in everything that we talked about and who is being attacked. Do you notice a theme? You don't notice a theme?
No.
Okay. So you have the woke writer that is attacking the black man. A woke female writer that's attacking the black man. Then you have the transgender on anyone that's not transgender and doesn't support fully what we do. Then you have the Freedom from Religion Foundation sent the University of Colorado, this is according to Fox News that picked up the story, the Freedom from Religion, so atheists, sent the University of Colorado a letter on January 24th about Sanders' references to Christianity and claimed they were contacted by residents who were concerned prayers were potentially being pressured to pray during their team meetings.
So what's this thing?
If you're in any type of traditional role, you're being attacked and castigated for being in that traditional role. Does that make sense?
Okay.
A black man that's a comedian can't tell jokes. Parents, if you're shown this image that what the NAACP holds up as the image of parenting is the passive father and the aggressive mother. And then you have the Freedom from Religion Foundation against the black male, strong role model Christian. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if you're in any type of masculine frame, they have a problem with you. If you are a traditional Bible-believing Christian, they have a problem with you. If you're a man, they have a problem with you unless you're passive. Can't unsee it. I mean, it's plain as day. Notice. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
I don't think they all are as straight line as what you would assume.
They're all straight lines from different directions, but they're all applying pressure to move the traditional male into a different direction.
Okay. So the woke writer, while she's castigating one black male, she's uplifting another. Because she's saying he deserved to be slapped and will deserve to slap him.
But again, men are only good enough to carry out the orders of women and be their attack dog.
I don't.
That's the only reason Will's being highlighted is because he stood up for Jada. If Jada's not in the picture, that's the only reason.
So what are you saying?
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
No.
Yes.
No. So what is this?
That's what she said.
Yeah, but I don't.
So either you're passive, weak, and you support our agenda, or we'll attack you. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're as connected. Now, keep in mind, I do think our culture is bent.
Oh, it's crooked, Rep.
I think our thinking is broke. I think we don't always see the entire ramifications of all that we uphold and push and support and that kind of deal, whatever. But I don't think everything is supporting that, what the other side would call, wokeism. I don't think everything is about, that agenda and women. I don't think everything's about, I just think we don't think sometimes. And it may look the same, but I don't think it all is the same. I mean, I could be wrong, but
yeah, you could be.
I'm
just saying because here's the deal.
One has anything to do with the other.
They do. They absolutely do. And the people that are in, I'm not saying that they had a conference call and say, hey, let's plan this out this week. So, Sean and Anthony can talk about this on TBC show.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is there is an overarching agenda to keep people divided. Because there's...
I do. Okay. So the first interview that Deion did, he was still the coach of Jackson State. Nobody said anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you're at Jackson State.
So this last interview
But now you're doing this in our world. Now you're doing this at a PWI. Hey, whatever y'all want to do over down there in your own, little HBCU playland, that don't affect us. But now you come over, you're at Power 5, you're at PWI. Now you're dealing with our kids.
Yeah. Or
now you're around our people. You see what I'm saying? And so it's
really
like,
ain't
okay,
dealing with your kids because he already told your kids they can pack up and go.
Because where's the Freedom from Religion Foundation chapter at Jackson State? Oh wait, it don't exist.
Right. I think that's all about because it's Deion and he came in so loud.
A lot of it, 100%.
Yeah.
So now it's like,
loud.
hey, any way we got an opportunity.
Kids,
nobody called these
stuff.
Nobody. I have a really difficult time believing that somebody called up the Freedom from Religion Foundation and said, hey, you got to help me.
He's making me pray.
I
don't think so either.
I find it very difficult to believe.
I don't think so either. But, again...
How do you pressure someone to pray?
It's Deion. So Deion does that round of, hey, lead us in prayer. Let's go. But again, just because he did that doesn't mean. And again, if you don't like the coach and how he runs his team, go to another school.
Correct. Look at this from the Christian Post. The group called on the university, the group being the Freedom from Religion Foundation, to teach Sanders about his constitutional duties under the Establishment Clause and to ensure that Sanders understands that he has been hired as a football coach and not a pastor. The letter urged the school to provide the group that the coach will not continue to proselytize his players or subject them to coercive team prayers, according to the Christian Post. Why do you have to be a pastor
to pray?
To pray.
Have you ever gone to a college game?
Mm-hmm.
Most colleges before the game,
mm-hmm.
they pray.
They pray.
After the game, they meet in the middle of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody takes a knee,
mm-hmm.
and they pray.
Mm-hmm.
How is this any different from any other movie? Again,
I think in high school, I know. I didn't go to public high school, but I know in public high school they kind of frown on this. But even a lot of public high schools and private high schools that are parochial, that's happening on the high school level.
We had I'm trying to think of what is Christian Athletes or Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah, FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
I was a member, like it was a big role at what we did.
Mm-hmm.
We had, and I served as one. We had a chaplain.
Yeah.
Like, how is this
every major sports team has a chaplain.
How is this
professional
different from anything you'll get anywhere else? The only difference is it's Deion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this is about a thing.
They have to knock down the icon. They have to. You see what I'm saying?
I don't think this is about a thing. I think this is about hating.
No. This is each of these things individually are about exactly what they're about. They're all self-contained units. I'm just noticing a pattern of what's happening if you kind of peel away a little bit and look a little deeper. Who's attacking and who's being attacked and why. That's what I'm not saying they're connected in the sense of there was some woke, racist, atheist Zoom call that coordinated. You know what I'm saying? No. I'm not saying that.
Tear the world up on 3.
Right, exactly. And so no. But I'm just saying that these separate incidents share a theme, and it's all moving in a similar direction. And look is who is attacking, but that and all the people attacking all claim to be the victim.
Right.
And so I just see this pattern that I can't unsee.
Yeah. Our world is definitely jacked, and you see it in different, varying arenas. And again, it's high time for those that are logical and thinkers to stop being silent and start expressing how we want our community to look, how we want our culture to look. Because again, if we keep being playing that sit back, just let it be what it is role,
laissez-faire.
Yeah, it's going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And so, and that's what's key. Again, my issue with the words, there are bigger fish to fry than some college athletes praying.
Right.
They're bigger fish to fry than what Chris said about something that happened a year ago.
Yeah.
And again, you don't get to slap me and then tell me how I should respond.
Right.
The man got slapped.
So, and then, some people have, and I know we're about to wrap up, but some people have Chris Rock under fire for what he said about his reason for why he didn't retaliate. He said he was raised not to fight in front of white people.
Yeah.
And some people take that and are like, oh, that's racist.
Hey, and
like, man, everything's racist.
What's that dude name? I think his name is BJ Smooth. They did a little interview.
JB Smooth.
They did a little interview after the thing, and he said, "Hey, Will slapped him. The night can continue.
Right.
But if they would have fought,
right, yeah,
the night is over with.
Night is over with.
Somebody, they on the ground, rolling around.
Right.
Somebody, you can't roll around in front of white people.
Right.
And the next Oscar goes to, the night is over with.
No.
So again, that's the, but
which
again,
speaks to, the professionalism, of Chris Rock, and which, I feel like he's worse for wear after this. Yeah. After the special, I feel like, it's kind of like, because you go from being the bigger man in the situation to now you're letting loose, calling people out their name and all that different stuff. It's like you had the moral high ground and you gave it up.
I don't see it. I mean, he could have did whatever in the moment, out of the moment. Mm-hmm. I don't get to assault you and then tell you how you should respond. Right. He could have called him out his name right then and there, and I would have been, fine with it. Do it a year later, and I'm fine with it. Mm-hmm. My thing is... No,
what I'm saying is I felt like since he didn't, he had the moral high ground, and he gave it away going into the gutter with his special is what I'm saying.
I think I probably would have went deep in the gutter, but, I mean... Who is me? Who is right? Who is me to judge?
Who is me?
Listen, man, thank you for joining us this week. Again, if you're enjoying the content, like, share, subscribe, and we're gonna keep pushing Shawn to be different. You see, so this week he said fantastic. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see what next week is.
You're interested?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to my thesaurus.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. You got anything going on this week?
Man, everything all the time. But in terms of like public events, I don't foresee anything on the calendar for this next week that'll make air. But
yeah, I don't think it'll make airtime. But I am in a men's conference. On the Saturday the 18th. Okay. I'll post it on my Facebook. I think it's Mountain of Faith, Pastor Marquis Washington, and his church. And so I'm excited about that. I haven't been able to do a men's conference in a very long time. So I'm Northeast Houston, so I'm interested and excited about what'll be shared as nuggets that day. So if you're in the area, Mountain of Faith Ministries, East Houston Road, definitely come be a part of that on March the 18th. Other than that, I don't think I have anything. The grind is always, so just trying to do it and get it done. Again, thank you for joining us. Pray for each other. Look out for each other. All we have is each other. And until we see you next week, grace and peace.